does it mean to live in fear of a raid, knowing that your home, your family, and your very existence could be torn apart at any moment? This was the terrifying reality for many settlers and neighboring tribes during the volatile era of the Wild West, a time when survival often hinged on vigilance and endurance. And among the many conflicts that erupted on the frontier, the Apache tribes were notorious for their brutal methods of warfare, particularly in their treatment of women, where acts of cruelty committed against them are a stark reminder of the harsh and unforgiving nature of life on the frontier, where alliances were fragile. And revenge often dictated the course of history. So to understand this grim chapter in history, we must examine the documented accounts of the Apache's treatment of women during raids, captivity, and the methods used to instill fear and control. For these stories, while difficult to confront, reveal much about the social, political, and cultural pressures that fueled such actions, beginning with the brutal raids and captivity where the Apache, known as fierce warriors and skilled survivalists, often relied on brutal raids as a method of asserting dominance and acquiring resources. And these raids were not random acts of violence, but calculated strategies driven by the necessity to sustain their communities in the harsh environment of the Southwest, with women being particularly vulnerable during these attacks as they were frequently targeted for capture. And once taken, they faced a grim fate where their lives were no longer their own, becoming commodities of war and survival. As historical records detail accounts of women being tied and dragged for miles, enduring exhaustion, starvation, and emotional trauma, with the Spanish friar Alonso de Benavides writing in the 17th century about the indescribable suffering of captives taken by Apache warriors, a testament to the brutal methods used to assert dominance. And captivity often marked the beginning of a harrowing ordeal for these women who were subjected to forced labor, servitude, and worse. While these raids also served to strike terror into settlers and rival tribes, ensuring that resistance was met with swift, unforgiving punishment, and the fear they instilled was a powerful weapon in itself, creating psychological scars that lasted generations. Imagine this. You're asleep in a rickety cabin, your children breathe softly beside you, outside the desert wind whispers. Then crack. The door splinters, torches flare, screams pierce the night. In seconds your world ends, you're dragged barefoot across cactus and stone. Your scalp burns as a blade slices. Your name is erased. Your future a forced marriage to the man who just murdered your husband. For this wasn't a horror movie, this was Tuesday in the Wild West. And tonight we descend into the Apache raids that turned the Southwest into a graveyard of screams, walking in the bloodied moccasins of women who survived or didn't, asking how much brutality the human soul can endure before it breaks or becomes the monster. So hit that like button if you've ever felt the chill of true fear. Share this with someone who needs to wake up to history's raw truth. And subscribe with notifications on because the past isn't dead. It's screaming. The Apache didn't wake up evil. They woke up hungry. For by 1850, the Southwest was a pressure cooker where Spanish land grants stole ancestral watering holes. American settlers plowed sacred mezcal grounds. Mexican rancheros hunted Apache like coyotes for bounty. A single failed monsoon meant children starved. A single U.S. cavalry patrol meant entire bands wiped out. As Geronimo said in 1886, we had no choice but to take what we needed or die. So raiding became survival and women became currency. Because history doesn't repeat, it echoes. Understand the echo or become its next victim. At 3:17 a.m. in the Oatman family wagon in Arizona Territory in 1851, Olive Oatman, age 13, wakes to her father's gurgle with an arrow in his throat. Her mother's scream lasts 1.8 seconds, cut short by a war club. For Apache raids weren't chaotic, they were choreographed. First, the scout watches for 3 days, counts guns, notes where children sleep. Then the silence as warriors crawl 400 yards on bellies with no metal, no coughs, moccasins stuffed with grass. Then the breach with door kicked in, torches thrown on roofs, horses stampeded. Then the harvest where men are killed instantly as too much trouble. Boys over 10 have throats slit as future warriors. Girls 8 to 25 captured because a 14-year-old could carry 40 pounds of stolen corn. Bare Apache children, be traded for 10 rifles. And Olive Oatman's diary later tattooed on her chin reads, "They tied my wrists with rawhide so tight my fingers turned black. We marched 60 miles in 2 days. No water, no mercy. So fear isn't the enemy, paralysis is. Train your mind now because history's raids never announce themselves. Smash like if Olive's courage hits you. Comment, never surrender below. Captives weren't walked. They were dragged with the Apache leash, a rawhide loop around the neck tied to a galloping warrior's saddle where falling meant strangled or trampled. As Captain John Cremeny in 1853 found a trail of blood drops every 20 feet from a Mormon girl age 16 dragged 14 miles with her soul gone yet still carrying her dead baby sister. And the starvation protocol was day 1 nothing. Day 2 1 handful of parched corn. Day 3 cactus juice if you begged. While warriors sang death songs in Apache translating to, "Your gods are dead, your name is dead, you are Apache now or you are meat." So pain is temporary, breaking is permanent. Choose who you'll be when the rope tightens. Share this with someone facing their own march right now. Among the most harrowing fates was forced marriage, for love became a weapon, as with Matilda Lockhart, age 13, captured near San Antonio in 1838, where on night 1 the chief forces her to marry his 19-year-old son with refusal equaling 20 lashes with yucca whip. By month 3 she's pregnant and miscarries from beating. By year 2, she speaks fluent Apache and calls her captor husband in Stockholm or survival. For Apache logic, per anthropologist Grenville Goodwin, meant captive wives equaled free labor, half-breed children future warriors, broken spirit no escape attempts, and Matilda after ransom said, "I hated him every dawn but smiled every dusk. Smiling kept me alive." So your body can be chained. Your mind is the last fortress. Defend it. Comment your fortress below. Subscribe for more stories of unbreakable spirits. Scalping was the ultimate warning. Not random, but advertising with the process a circular cut above ears. Boot on neck, yank, scalp stretched on willow hoop, painted red hung outside rancheria with the message to settlers. This was Sarah Miller, 22, next your daughter. While U.S. paid $100 per Apache scalp in the 1860s, and Apache paid 1 horse per settler scalp in a market of death. So symbols matter. What you display becomes what you defend. Choose wisely, like if you're done romanticizing the Wild West. Whipping and beating broke the spirit with the discipline whip of yucca fibers soaked in salt water where each lash meant fire plus infection. As Olive Oatman in 1851 wrote, "They whipped me for crying, then whipped me for not crying. Silence was the only safe sound." And Apache women warriors often delivered beatings to prove loyalty and erase empathy. So the whip scars fade, the lesson doesn't. Let pain teach, not defeat. Share this section. Someone needs to hear it. Burning and mutilation erased identity in the worst cases, like Maria Herrera in 1846, captured with infant who refuses to abandon the child, so the baby is dashed against a rock. Maria's fingers cut off 1 per refusal to submit. Face branded with hot iron Apache sun symbol for permanent mark, meaning no ransom, no escape, you belong now. So they can take your fingers. They can't take your fire. Burn brighter. Comment, still burning, if you're with Maria. The cycle of revenge saw settlers no saints. As in 1859 Camp Grant massacre, U.S. soldiers invite Apache to peace talks, serve poisoned flour, 150 dead, mostly women and children. Apache response: burn 17 ranches in 1 week, leave children's scalps on pikes. So revenge is a fire that burns the wielder first. Break the cycle or become it. Survivors refused to break, like Cynthia Ann Parker, captured 1836, age 9, lived 24 years. As Apache wife, rescued 1860, tried to escape back to tribe. Or Lozan, Apache warrior woman, fought U.S. cavalry with rifle in 1 hand, baby in other, never captured. So some chains forge the strongest blades. Your trauma is raw material. Forge it. Subscribe for Lozan's full story next week. You're not facing Apache raids, but you face the boss who drags your name through mud, the diagnosis that rips your future, the betrayal that scalps your trust, lessons from captive women. Silence can be strategy, pain is data, use it. Your mind is the final frontier. The Wild West is dead, the wild within you isn't. Tame it, weaponize it, win. The terrible acts committed by the Apache against women in the Wild West serve as a chilling reminder of the brutality and complexity of frontier life. From violent raids and forced marriages to scalping, physical abuse, and psychological torment, These practices reveal a harsh world where survival often demanded unthinkable measures. So, as we reflect on these grim realities, we must ask what lessons we draw from the suffering endured by these women. How this chapter shapes our understanding of power, survival, and humanity. Share your thoughts in the comments. Engage with this history by liking, subscribing, ringing the notification bell to uncover more stories delving deep into the complexities of our past. Your perspective matters in preserving and interpreting history. If this shook you, like. If it woke you, share. If you refuse to be history's victim, subscribe and hit the bell. Next week, the Apache women who fought back, rifles, revenge, and redemption. Drop your thoughts. What's your raid? How are you surviving it? We read every comment. Your story matters. This is the channel. We don't just tell history, we arm you with it. The desert is quiet now, but the lessons scream.